Hello and welcome to India's World. Thailand has voted for a new constitution formulated by its current military-backed government. The military had abrogated the old constitution when it took power in a coup in 2014. In the referendum for the new constitution, voters were asked two questions requiring simple yes or no answers. One, do you accept the draft constitution? And two, should the upper house of parliament be permitted to join the lower house in selecting the prime minister? With a record low turnout of 55%, the yes vote was supported by 61% of those voting. Thailand's military-backed government has claimed that the new constitution will enhance the ability of the next government to fight against corruption and ensure that the current program of reforms will not be curtailed. The critics of the new constitution, however, argue that it has been deliberately designed to produce weak coalition governments which will be guided by independent commissions, stacked, of course, with the allies of the armed forces. The upper house of the Senate will be a fully appointed house by the establishment. This would allow the army to have considerable influence in choosing the prime minister. Also, under the new constitution, the prime minister need not be a member of parliament and can be an unelected outsider. Supporters of the new document say that it will restore stability, but critics say that it will entrench military control. To discuss the new military-sponsored constitution of Thailand and its implications, we have with us three distinguished guests. We have with us Ambassador Pinak Ranjan, a distinguished fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. He's been India's ambassador to Bangladesh and Thailand. We have with us Ambassador Vivek Katju, another distinguished diplomat. He's been India's ambassador to Afghanistan, Myanmar and Thailand, of course. And we are lucky to have with us today Dr. Pankaj. He's currently Director of Research with the Indian Council of World Affairs, and earlier he was with the National Security Council Secretariat. His areas of interest include Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific and the Indian Ocean. I welcome all of you to this discussion. Pinak, let me begin with you. There have been charges that the new constitution was written without significant public participation or democratic consultation, and that it essentially institutionalizes military control over Thai polity. Now, if that is the case, why have 61% of Thai voters accepted it and said yes to it?
The people of Thailand are a bit tired of their own politicians and the kind of democracy that has prevailed there. I think the chaotic scenes that I have seen in Bangkok, for example, or even earlier when I think one of our representatives, I think it was Minister Kamal Nath, who actually had to be evacuated from his hotel. So there have been chaotic scenes. The airport was closed down. The people of Bangkok are quite tired, actually, and the establishment, the royalists, the businessmen are, frankly, I think, a bit tired of the politicians. So I think this is a way of expressing, saying that, okay, let's get on with it. We need to move on. We need to have an election. And the army, in any case, has always interfered in politics in Thailand with the backing of the royal family and the business elite. This is the triumvirate which actually decides things in Bangkok.
Vivek, do you think the Thai voters actually voted for stability without voting for really military-run government? But they also voted for a quick transition to democracy. Because if they had not voted yes, then these people would have continued, and at least this constitution promises elections.
I think the real issue in Thailand is a transition not to democracy, but a transition which will happen eventually, because the king, who, as you know, has been, who's now in the 70th year of his reign and
extremely ill.
Extremely ill. And it has been venerated by large sections of Thai society, has been a factor of stability in Thailand. Through all its troubles, they've ultimately looked to the king. So at this moment, under the surface, there is a feeling of great unease and discomfort about the future. And naturally, in such times, the anchor they seek is stability. And this constitution, even though critics can say it's undemocratic, and there are features which are not there in a traditional democracy, provides the promise of that stability, although it will be with the army. And as Pinak has said, the army in politics is not something which is unknown to Thai system.
Dr. Jha, who are the winners and who are the losers in this process of accepting this new constitution?
Basically, if you see that the Thai history itself, there has been a number of coups, and this is the 20th constitution as such. overall we see that the king's role as such in the constitution is reinforced. However, in other terms, I also see a permeation of the army into the king mode, which is just apparent, very much on the superficial level, but it's apparent. And second, the army itself is seen as an important element in nation building process. All across Southeast Asia, army has been seen as indispensable in nation building. You see the case of Myanmar, Indonesia. Every army wants to have a stake. Even though people say that Thailand has not been colonized and has been independent, but the demonstration effect does works over there. And the third aspect is that army has reinstated itself as an important pillar of whatever the governance system or the administration in Thailand is important for that matter.
But the winner is the army.
Yes, of course, because the red and yellow debate and the discourse has given army the olive green as the biggest winner overall.
Okay. Pinak, so does winning the referendum bring the generals a step closer to keeping the supporters of Mr. Thaksin out forever?
Well, I don't know, because in any free and fair election, the Pure Thai party, which is Thaksin's party, I think is going to win an election.
But they won every election since 2001 and they were removed with the backing of the military.
Exactly. So they were all overthrown in coups, basically. Thaksin was overthrown in 2006 and Yingluck, his sister, was overthrown, I think, 2014. So I don't know, because the majority of the Thai people will still continue to vote for Pure Thai and they will win the election. Now, what happens if they win? I think the control the army seeks and the establishment there seeks is through the upper house of parliament, where they will have only nominated members plus, I think, 6 military members. Plus, they will be allowed to choose the prime minister. So I think that is the way the constitution has been engineered, so that even if the Pure Thai party wins, they will have a controlling say in who becomes prime minister.
All right. Okay. We need to take a break at this point. We'll be back again with this discussion in a bit. Stay with us. Don't go away. Welcome back. We're discussing the Thais voting for a military-backed constitution and its implications for democracy in that country. Vivek, do you think that once a elected government is in power in Thailand, it can amend the constitution? How easy or how difficult would it be to amend this constitution?
I think it will not be easy. Because as I said, the basic impulse of this constitution is to ensure that the military, and the military in many ways is an instrument of those who are around the palace, will be able to control things in a manner that provides for a smooth transition. Because that is the real concern. They don't want the Thaksinites to have any controlling influence over Thailand and its internal processes during the period of transition that is looming ahead. So that is, to my mind, the key to understand
the fear? The fear is that they could abolish monarchy or make it even more of a rubber stamp?
The fear is that the Thaksinites will become more and more populist. I think within the Thai system, it was the king and the palace that was the provider of patronage that people looked up to for providing succor in times of need. Thaksin sort of challenged that by going to the vast masses and saying that I am, as the Prime Minister and head of government, going to do all this for your welfare. Now, the Thai system does not tolerate that.
Okay.
So they still want the pivotal role of the monarchy, and that is somewhat clouded.
Okay. Now, do you agree with him? Because the military-backed governments or the people who have taken over from the Thaksinites, they have continued with the populist policies of Thaksin. It's not as if they've done away with them. So is it merely a question of who is in charge of those policies, who implements those policies, or is it that populism by itself is bad?
As of date, the whole Thai electorate is divided between those who are centered on Bangkok and those on the northern areas, which popularly support Thaksin for that matter. The Bangkok populace, especially the rural people, are very much into the subsidized culture in terms of medicines, easy loans and all those things. Yeah, of course. But the problem is Thai economy is suffering a lot in the last 2-3 years because the rate of growth which was expected of the Thailand is somehow getting decelerated because the FDIs are little bit sketchy.
It's remained flat. FDIs remain flat.
So until unless you don't have the cushion of really economic growing strong, you can't really do the subsidized sort of a culture with the thing. On the other hand, military itself has its own provisions clearly cut out. They want equipment and best of the education and best of these things to themselves. In this, the whole calibrated move that the military has made to showcase that we are going to return back to democracy is under a lot of suspicion because in the last 10 years, a decade or so, there has been numerous changes in the leadership and again military has tried to ensconce itself into the saddle seat. So this whole overall constitution and how it will be reinterpreted and interpreted in this will be a major bone of contention in the coming years, be it the Thacksanites or the opposing camp.
Okay. Yeah.
The military is part of the complex. One can't look at the Thai military like you look at the Pakistan military as an independent actor. They are part of a system,
Of a monarchical system.
of a system around the palace. Thaksin tried to intervene in the military too, but there the military struck back.
Okay. Pinak, why do people say that the new constitution will make it virtually impossible, if not difficult, for a single party to emerge as the largest party in parliament? That there would be smaller parties and no single party would get a majority.
You see, I think the constitution seeks to achieve fragmentation in the vote, basically, so that the parliament does not the Pure Thai party, which I feel might still get the majority, but may not also, because they might. I think you will also notice that of late they are also trying to encourage more parties to come up, including a party which is apparently rooting for the current Prime Minister and the former Army Chief Prayut Chan-ocha to be Prime Minister. So I think you will see a continuation of those efforts that will probably lead to, given the fact that the Senate will be controlled by the army, that Prayut Chan-ocha becomes Prime Minister again, even after the election.
So, but people are saying, Vivek, that the Democrat Party will split into a faction led by Abhisit Vijayjiva and other factions led by Thoksuban and various other people. Now, but the vote of the Pure Thai party, the core vote, will remain intact. So fracturing is actually taking place of those parties that supported the military, while those who are opposed to the military, they remain consolidated. So how would they achieve this business of ensuring that none of them gets a majority?
Look, I think there can be no assurances there. And certainly the Thaksanites' core vote will not dissipate easily. Because that stood the test of time.
That I'm accepting. I'm accepting that. I'm saying that if the Democrat Party divides and breaks up into factions, then it goes against the army's interests.
No, you're absolutely right. So their preferred choice, the army's preferred choice and first line of defense is to try to manage the elections, or try to manage the matters in a manner that no party is able to get a majority in the lower house. And that is why the Senate option. The second is to provide through independent commissions a control over the government, whatever kind of government comes in. Because the significant feature which I have found, to my mind, nowhere else in a referendum, where a specific question has been put, that can the upper house, which is totally unelected, elect a prime minister or select or elect a prime minister. Now that is therefore preparing the ground to answer democratic critics within and without on the first thing, that the elected house fails.
Mr. Jha, let me just take this forward and ask you this. Why is it that the Constitution section 88 says that parties can nominate up to 3 prime ministerial candidates, not 1 but 3? You need only 10% of the MPs to support a candidate. Is it to divide the political parties further, or is it to facilitate the emergence of a consensus prime minister?
Even in the past, there has been provisions just to consolidate the economy that they have incorporated opposition members into that government system. And this was seen when...
that is a different issue.
No, just 3 is, making it provisions for it is to make them, everybody understand that, look, there are certain provisions which everybody has to accept. So it's just justifying for the longer governance.
Do you disagree?
No, it's quite obvious. If you say that a party itself can nominate 3, then what are you encouraging? So that is why, as I said, this whole game is to provide for a period of transition, which and they say that if you see popular literature on the Constitution, you find that they are saying that they want to guide things for the next 5 years. So that is the period of transition. That is the important element.
All right. We need to take a break again at this point. We'll be back again in a bit. Stay with us. Don't go away. Welcome back. We are discussing the new military-backed constitution of Thailand and its impact on Thai democracy. Pinak, how will the new constitution of Thailand impact the minorities? Does it provide for greater autonomy and greater decentralization of powers to ethnic and non-Buddhist minorities of Thailand, or does it leave them as they were? So southern Thailand will continue to be disturbed?
I don't think the new constitution has gone far enough to assuage the separatist tendencies, if I may say, of the Thai Malaysian Muslim community in the south mainly, not the northern Muslim communities. So as you know, 3 provinces there have been quite disturbed for a long time, and there's an insurgency of sorts going on. Not much covered by the media, but it has been going on for quite some time. There are bomb blasts. I mean, there are some bomb blasts that have occurred recently in the last few days also. May not be related to that. But I think the Muslim insurgency in the south is unlikely to dissipate just because a new constitution has been passed.
But the new constitution does provide for greater decentralization of powers.
Well, it will help, but it doesn't. There is, as you know, over a period of time, the insurgency acquires a momentum of its own. It has a core group who don't want to give it up despite all concessions. I think we've seen it all over the world in many such places. So I don't think they are going to stop their activities.
Okay. Vivek, constitution making processes can actually be process of reconciliation in a society. We saw the Indian Constituent Assembly reconciled so many different interests and different factions. Do you think the Thai constitution, the new constitution, does it have the potential to reconcile various factions, or do you think in the long term it seeks to divide people, which is what you've been suggesting from the beginning?
Listen, for the purposes of reconciliation through the constitution, the constitution making process per se has to be such that it provides for reconciliation, that the end product of the constitution is a product which emerges from political reconciliation in a constituent assembly. That hasn't been the manner in which this constitution has been made. So the reconciliation that you're talking about has to take place at some time in Thai society and Thai politics, but that's in the future.
Not now.
No, it can't be. This constitution is not made for that purpose.
Not even through an elected government?
No, because the constitution is not made for that purpose.
The elections in Thailand have been tentatively scheduled for November 2017. But there are those who say that there is no guarantee that the election will be held at that point of time, largely because King Bhumibol Adulyadej is old and ailing, and should he, God forbid, die, then the process can be further postponed if the army so wants.
There are basically 3 elements to the situation with regard to monarchy and the developments in the south. Patani, Yala, Narthiwar itself are slightly simmering because of the problems in this thing. But in this regard, if anything really escalates to the extent, the army will justify that it has to continue for the national emergency because of the situation in the south. Second, monarchy itself, there are 2 provisions within the constitutions. One talks about Privy Council. Privy Council comprises of 8 members, in which there is one Privy, President of the Privy Council, who is neither elected nor Supreme Court or all sorts of, position, political position. It should not be from that thing. Now itself, it created a position which any army or military guy can really take care of it. The provision also asks for a regent in case the king unfortunately dies or something happens. And if the king is not able to appoint a regent as such, then the Privy Council president will take over as that nominal head from the monarchy side.
But the question of regency will come only if there's a minor to take over from him. But you have a crown prince who's an adult and ready to take over.
Yeah, I'm talking about the provisions which have been made despite the fact that there is a hierarchy regulations within the monarchy itself. So when army is in saddle, then we can't be very sure about the thing. The third aspect which is very important is that how they are really going to lease out to the democracy. Once again, the problem of the few Thai party will come over, and all the fragmented parties which might emerge because of the Democratic Party, and how they really take shape. In both the cases, the few Thai party might say that I don't want to take army on my side, but the other parties might really assimilate themselves together and say, army, with the army support, we are going to make it. Then again, you have a case of yellow and red shirts.
This is not to do with postponement of the election, but on succession, you seem to disagree with Dr. Jha.
No, the succession is provided for. And I don't think that that a constitution, of course, provides for all kinds of contingencies. But that's not related to the present situation on succession. But on the south, if you permit me just one sentence, I don't think any kind of constitution making will impact on the separatist tendencies which are there in the south and which are historic in nature. The Thai system has tried to accommodate it to the best it can in at different times during the past few decades. But then you find this kind of separatism not unique to southern Thailand. It's also there in the Philippines. It's there elsewhere. So it's related to a larger issue, which of course is not germane to our present discussion. So the connection that through this, the hope that through this constitution, you can impact on southern Thailand, I think is a fond hope.
Okay. But the constitution nonetheless talks about reconciliation in the preamble. However, the preamble also refers quite strangely, and I quote, to people who ignored or disobeyed administrative rules, corrupted or distorted power, etc. Who are these people? I mean, these are the Thacksonites, obviously.
Obviously, so the politicians.
How can the new constitution begin by blaming politicians and claim to be promoting democracy?
You see, as you know, that the major political parties rejected this constitution. They have said, look, we were not consulted.
They rejected, but they went and voted also.
No.
Yingluck Shinawatra said, I'm happy that as a Thai citizen I can vote.
No, because they are trying to make a point that at least I can vote. There is some form of democracy being practiced, at least on the thing. She must have voted no for the constitution, because that's what she had claimed. I mean, all the parties had claimed. So, as far as the constitution is concerned, it's a rigged constitution. There is no doubt about it. So, now what happens after this? And what will happen, as I said earlier, is that the people have voted, and overwhelmingly actually, 61% have voted for the constitution.
But although 55% is a very low turnout.
Yes, a very low turnout.
Since 1983, the lowest turnout in any referendum or election in Thailand.
But it's okay, in every democracy there is a certain amount of turnout, but once the results are out, you have to accept it. So, this constitution is going to be implemented. But I think the real worry at the back of everybody's mind is what I go back to what Vivek said, is the transition from the king. When the king passes away from the scene and the crown prince has to take over or does not take over, I don't know what's going to happen. And that's a real worry for not only the Thai people, but also the power structure in Thailand.
Okay, we've run out of time, but the consensus seems to be this is a rigged constitution, not meant to promote democracy, but to promote army's continued influence on Thai polity. I'd like to thank all of you, Dr. Pankaj Jha, Ambassador Vivek Katju, Ambassador Pinak, Ranjan for participating in this discussion. That is all we have for you today. We'll be back again next week as usual. Till then, goodbye and thanks for watching India's World.